To expect.
You're so ready you don't know what to expect?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, welcome back to another storytelling episode. Today we are going to talk about something which, for me, was such a huge relief because this is one of the things that I kept in mind when I was going through some pretty rough patches because living in a big city, you gotta deal with, number one, annoying neighbors.
Red rum.
Number two, an elevator that never works. Or one apartment per lift.
I'm gonna die.
Yes. We're dead. So number three, if your shower is broken, it takes how many hours?
5 hours.
5 hours just for them to get the shower out of here. So there's another man behind the camera, and he is going to be like this sub-narrator person, just cheering me up.
He's a complete joke, honestly.
Yeah, he is a complete joke, let's face it. But this man have been through the entire shower saga with me, and I have turned a shower story into an actual story called Terminator Plumber that I am going to read out to you guys. He's already laughing, so it has to be a pretty good story. But the general concept here is that as a storyteller, you're in a sense trying to find out something that's, out of the ordinary, or within the ordinary that you're trying to bring out of the ordinary. For example, something bad happens to people. What are they gonna do?
What are they gonna do, Robin?
I don't know, press charges.
Go to jail.
I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong when you're living in a city, when you're going through your daily matters. And for my friend Jay, who also works on YouTube, or who's also kind of like this writerly guy, we write a lot together, he recently went through a rough patch. What happened this morning?
Alright, I tried to test out the waters of YouTube ads and I put $20 in. I woke up this morning and they overcharged me like $68 and they kept taking money from me and it wouldn't stop. And I pressed the end button of the ad and it kept taking money from me and I was panicking. And I got so angry that I used the hairdryer to dry my trousers and then the hairdryer blew up in my hand.
But if you take a look at some of these ridiculous situations, at some point, they're gonna become funny, right? For example, for me, getting the shower fixed was extremely excruciating for a few weeks, but in retrospect, it turned into a story, which I'm gonna read to you guys. But before we dive into the story, here's a quick shout out, then again, to today's video sponsor, Skillshare! Skillshare is a place where you can learn absolutely everything and anything. Yeah. Ranging from how to flip a coin, which this guy's been doing for the past 10 minutes, to how to write better, to how to paint, to how to illustrate beautiful pictures, to how to make window dressings.
Or how to murder someone.
How to murder someone. There you go, Skillshare. So this week's Skillshare recommendation is going to be Susan Orlean's course on how to write creative nonfiction, which is exactly what the story is going to be. We're essentially taking whatever is nonfiction, aka terrible food, aka annoying neighbors, aka that elevator that never works out there. We're turning that into a story. So if you go through this course, if you follow step-by-step the exercises, the ways of checking your facts, the ways of taking notes in the field, and the ways of turning ordinary events into a story, you can probably write yourself your own Terminator Plumber, I don't know. And as a subscriber and a viewer of this channel, Skillshare is offering the first 1,000 students a free premium membership. If you want to learn how to write creative nonfiction, check out the course by Susan Orlean, or if you want to learn about how to murder someone, which is not recommended. I don't think there's a course on there about that. Anyhow, follow the breadcrumb trail in the description down below and get yourself that free membership right now. Now, back to the Terminator. Boom, 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 boom. So you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Let's do it. Terminator Plumber. The story started with a crack at the base of my shower. A week later, the crack widened and paint around it started flaking off. So on a Friday afternoon, I called 3 plumbing companies. None of them wanted to send anyone out, and one of them went as far as trying to sell me a tube of silicone so I could fix it myself. After all that, I decided to use my last resource, Lisa at the real estate agency. Over the line, she always sounded like she was on the verge of strangling someone. It's 4 p.m. Can't you find a better time to call? Matt will come over next week and check it out for you. He'll give you a call. She hung up, and over the following week, I received a text message from a certain Matt who promised to come and have a look at 9 a.m. on the Thursday. For the record, I don't care for anything that happens before 11 a.m. because sleeping when others are working feels great. So upon receiving the news that I had to get up at 9 a.m., I called my sister Ada. Hey, do you want to come by and have lunch on a Thursday? That was out of the blue, she said. Just thought we'd catch up. It's been a while. And of course, what I didn't tell her was that even though she was great company, she was a greater alarm clock. Without fail, my intercom buzzed at 8 a.m. on Thursday, and I was forced to get up and buzz her in. I brewed some tea and sat her down before revealing her real purpose for the day. She wasn't pleased. Next time, just ask me to give you a call instead, she shook her head. You're paying for lunch because this is on you. We sat around and waited for Matt to show up and fix the shower problem, but the only problem was that in the imagination of a plumber, 9 a.m. was synonymous with 1 p.m. And the most unbearable thing was that it was impossible to spend those in-between hours with ease. I couldn't even go to the toilet without a looming fear of ending up with 40 missed calls on my phone and a grumpy plumber waiting in the lobby. Hence, we sensibly stayed in the apartment for 3 hours after lunch, and around 1 p.m., the intercom finally buzzed. Hey, mate, sorry for being late. I buzzed Matt in, and the man had a lost look about him. I rehearsed complaints and angry lines in my head over and over, but upon seeing that face, I couldn't bring myself to yell at him. Instead, I nodded and directed him into the bathroom, and without even inspecting the crack closely, he said, Well, mate, this is emergency repair. What took you so long? I tried so hard not to point out the irony in that question, but given that Ada was around, and I didn't want to sound like an ass, I nodded and showed him the way out. I'll be back next week, eh? He pulled out his phone and noted something down. I live just down the street from you, so anytime next week could work, but... He paused. What is it? I crossed my arm. This time, I was on the verge of strangling someone. You can't shower for a few days because he passed some air between his teeth that was meant to sound like running water. Leaked downstairs, but I'll be back next week. You'll be showering soon enough. And then he walked down whilst whistling. I closed the door and looked at Ada. She shrugged and said, Well, surely you don't need to shower every day. But for me, not showering daily was a crime, so I had to find some alternative solution. I called Jay and asked if I could shower at his apartment, but after a test run, I decided against it. Though his place wasn't that far from mine, but lugging around a bath towel in the streets at 1 a.m. every morning with messy and damp hair was not my definition of convenience. After enduring those judgmental stares from my fellow Melburnians, I spotted my ultimate solution when I stopped at a traffic light. There was a 24-hour gym below my apartment, and I just happened to have a key card because a year ago, the gym coerced me into a permanent contract with them. For once, a mistake turned into a lifesaver, and over the next few days, I became the shower guy at the gym, and it would always go along the lines of, Receptionist, hey, back at it again? Me, sure. Did you have a good workout? Just worked out how to not stink like a horse. You haven't touched any of the equipment? Does that mean you'll charge me less for my membership? Of course he said no, and this went on for nearly 2 weeks before Matt sent me another message. Sorry mate, I broke my leg last week and I was only back to work yesterday. Still have a cast on everything. And would you mind if we come over tomorrow? At first I thought the entire thing was a big practical joke, but apparently not. On the day of the appointed shower fixing day, I dragged Jay over to write. We wrote for a few hours on the couch and Jay turned to me. Where the hell is this plumber? Wasn't he supposed to be over at 10? It was 12 p.m. already. I don't know. I drank some tea out of my cup. Maybe he broke a leg? And 30 minutes later, the plumber rang the intercom and came to my door with a giant scooter and a cast on his leg. Sorry, mate. I have a few more jobs around town and now I'm here. No wonder he broke a leg because the scooter was made of metal and was as tall as himself. That's a big-ass scooter, Jay said. How fast could it go? Oh man, this thing goes up to 80. He patted the thing and rolled it into the door, dirtying my carpet. Don't you need a license for that thing? I said and looked at his cast. He looked up and shrugged. Well, maybe last week I broke my ankle and still paying off. After he settled in, he dragged a few barrels into my bathroom, and before he barricaded the door, I'll keep it quiet, eh? Won't be long. It'll be done real soon. And so a string of loud bangs and chainsaw noises followed. I basked in the noise because it was the perfect revenge on my neighbor for their 2 a.m. screams and knocks. After a while, the chainsaw noise and the loud bangs settled. I looked around my apartment and said to Jay, Great, now everything's covered in dust. Just as I was about to take out the vacuum cleaner, the intercom rang again and I heard a deep voice. Mate, is this 919? Yeah, and this is... Just open the door, mate, I'll be up in a second. A man showed up at my door with a military-grade dust-proof mask and a Terminator-grade vacuum cleaner, the one that you have to carry on your back to operate. He switched the thing on and the promise of being quiet was completely out of the window. The Terminator did a decent job and exited my apartment without a word. After the Terminator left, a scooter guy finally emerged from my bathroom. It's almost done. My bathroom looked trash and I saw my bath towel on a toilet seat completely drenched and soiled. He traced my gaze and smiled with the same lost look. I didn't say a word. We'll find you a shower base, eh? Yeah, sure. I kept the door open and Matt walked out with essentially the entire base of my shower. He greeted the Terminator at the door and hopped on his scooter. His cast clattered against the metal frame. We'll be back in a few days, eh? Okay then. The scooter powered on and the two disappeared from the hallway. I shook myself awake and turned to Jay. They say to fix the shower, not take it away. I scratched my head. They completely managed to do the latter without finishing the former. Well, Jay walked up to me and peeked into my bathroom. You know what? What? I tried to keep my cool at the sight of what was essentially a giant hole at where my shower used to be. At least you're halfway there. That is the story of the Terminator plumber, and that is kind of like an example of how I deal with shitty situations and misfortunes. So, next time, when you're going through a bad situation, always keep this in mind. Misfortune, it always turns into something funny eventually. You just have to look for the humor in shitty situations, and let's see what you could come up with, because some of this stuff could be pretty amazing. And again, thank you for watching another episode of Unsolicited Rambles, and I'll see you guys in the next one.